Hi, this is Bass Guitar Lessons Leeds, and today we're going to be looking at Funeral Pyre by The Jam. So here's the intro. Hi, this is the intro to Funeral Pyre by The Jam. This is repeated a lot. It's not just the intro, it's played ages on the outro and it's in the verses as well. So if you can get this down, you've got a big chunk of the song. You start at fret 7 on the A string with your first finger and you're going to play that note twice. That's an E note. We're then going to play two notes with our third finger on the fret 9 on the D string, back to 2 on fret 7 on the A string, and then 2 with our pinky on fret 10 on the D string. So it's fret 7 on the A, fret 9 on the D, fret 7 on the A, fret 10 on the D. You then repeat the first two notes, and then we're going to do a run from frets 10, 9 and 7 on the D string, and then fret 10 on the A string, one note each. So the whole thing is and we play that 2-bar phrase 6 times for the intro, and then after that it goes into a verse, which is where we're going to go to next. Okay, this is the verse to Funeral Pyre. It starts on a D and he plays a box shape. Bruce Foxton very often in a lot of jam stuff will play like a bass riff, just outline the same sort of melodic pattern, and he does that on this tune with some slight variations. It starts on D and then we play, which is fret 5 on your A string, then we play fret 7 on the D string, which is just the 5th of the chord. So you've got 5, then 7 on that on the D, and then we come to we play frets 5 and 4 on the G string, and then we go back to 7 on the D and then 5 on the D, and then when he repeats that he just holds this one for a quarter note. He doesn't go back to fret 5. Does that whole thing twice, and I'll just go around the fingerings I use here. So I take that first one with finger 1, then my pinky, because that allows me to open out here, and I take frets 5 and 4 with fingers 2 and 1, and then frets 7 and 5 I take with fingers 4 and 2, and that allows me to get my first finger back here, and that whole pattern's played twice. And you repeat that again, then it goes and plays the 2-bar bass riff. And it does that twice, so you've got then he does the whole thing again, but on the D he plays variations, so he just mixes up what he does here, but I'm going to show you the 3 essential ones. The first one you've already got. The second time he does the same first time, but then he hammers on. He plays the D again, but instead of going to this note of fret 7 on the D, which is the 5th of the chord, he goes to the octave and he plays it again. So you've got, and then just a run down. So the first bar's the same, then octave, whole thing again, and the second time he does 2 hammer-ons. And then he goes back to play the E here, the riff again. Then it goes into a bridge, which we'll go to, and he plays the E 4 times that time, before it goes to the bridge, and we'll go to the bridge next, but first I'll just play you through it nice and slowly. So that's the first time. Back to D. Hammer on. 2. Riff. He plays the riff 2 more times and then goes into the bridge, which we'll go to next. This is the bridge section of Funeral Pyre by the Jam. This is interesting because it was in the 80s where there was a lot of slap and pop bass, and as you've probably seen on the video section where I've played along, I'm popping the strings, but I still use a pick because Bruce Foxton was a big plectrum user. I went to see him not too long ago with From the Jam, and he does all downstrokes as well, so it's really good player with a pick. But on this one, because it's the 80s and everybody seems to have popping going on in the songs, you've got that going on the octave C. Well, I'll show you how I do that with the plectrum as well. So after we've played the riff the last time, so he plays G on beat 1 and he pops this, goes back to the low note and then hammers on from fret 3 onto 5, and that's just, and he does that twice. Then he plays 3 low ones and hammers. Then he plays the low one and then does it on the high strings. So the full thing of that, if you're watching, is G, pop, repeat that, 3 low ones, and then, so that's your 4 bars of G. Then on the A minor, he plays just a run up. And when I do that, I play it all on 1 string, and it's on 2 strings, but the root note all on this on the A string. So I'm playing an open A in fret 2, that's its octave. Then frets 2 and 4, 3 and 5, 5 and 7. And then I'm coming back from 7 and 9, 5, 7, 3, 3, 5, 2, 4. And those notes are A, B, C, D, E, D, C, B. Then he comes back onto the G and just plays. So he just plays it more spacious when he comes back, just a G, a low G, and then the next time on the end of beat 2, he plays a grace note into it, so he hits this quite rapidly from 3, the F at fret 3 onto the G at fret 5 on the D string. Then he plays a C here, and then at fret 3 on the A string. Then you play a C octave and a G, both at fret 5. And then F. So I play F, F again, fret 1 on the E string, and then F and an open E. And then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and stop there on the F, and that lets us get back up to play the riff again. So that going through that, you've got the riff 4 times and goes back into the verse. Then you play everything again, the verse and the bridge, and then you've got a big outro section which is mainly just around this E minor, and that's the part we'll look at next. Okay, this is the outro section, the last bit to Funeral Pyre by the Jam. There's a little variation the last time that he comes out of the bridge section into the outro. The outro is just the riff repeated loads and loads of times, and you'll see what's happening there. But he plays a little bit different against the C and the F chords going into very subtle variation, but if you wanted to get them down, I'll just show you them now. This is the first time we go. Whereas this time it's... So what are you doing? Instead of playing, he just plays a C onto a D, and then the F he plays 2 instead of... He goes... We've got the same thing going on there. Then you just literally play this riff for ages and ages, and what happens is, I'll just check out the words that the backing vocals say. It says, when I felt so old, when I feel so young, and I just can't grow up to meet the demands. He says that twice, and so that's going on over this. The main thing about this is getting in tight with the drummer, because the drums are quite staggered, so you've got to keep your concentration to keep it really nice and even all the way through. After that's spoken twice, the bass just plays an E at fret 7 on our A string, which is where we've played all the riff and everything, and we hold that for 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and then it fades out just on guitar and drums clattering all over the place, but the bass drops out at that point. It's really all you've got to do is listen to the track to get this down, but it's great practice for just getting really even with your plectrum. So have fun with Funeral Pyre by the Jam, and we'll see you next time.